Hi, everybody. This is Kellyanne with Church Windows. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar was due to begin at 1 p.m. I think my computer is lagging in time. It says 12:59, but the phone and the clocks here in the office say 1:02. So we'll split the difference and go ahead and get started. Since I think it is actually 1, but this computer's date and time is lagging. Again, my name is Kellyanne. I am a tech here at Church Windows. I've worked here since 2008. I'm the presenter or organizer for today's user group or coffee break. Um, Oops, let me make sure I'm not muted. Somebody said, is there anyone there? Um, there we go. I'm talking to myself. I had myself muted. Hello, everyone. This is Kellyanne with Church Windows. Let me go ahead and show my screen. We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Kellyanne. I've been with Church Windows since about 2008, I believe. I am the organizer and presenter today. I also have Marla here helping answer questions. Today's webinar or user group, first we're going to begin with a quick 15-minute coffee break where we're just going to go over a basic donation statement and how to pull that up. And then for anyone who'd like to stay for the full hour, we're going to go more into depth with the statement and take a look at the report design. Hopefully everybody can hear me now that I've made sure I'm unmuted. Just to make sure, if you can hear me, on your GoToWebinar toolbar, you can click on a little button to raise your hand. If you could do that, that will just alert me that people are hearing me okay. If you can't hear me, then hopefully you will call the Citrix number that was included in your email and get some help from Citrix. I'm seeing hands raised, so good, people can hear me. Also, on your GoToWebinar toolbar, if it's your first time using this software, it's a company called Citrix, and we like using it because it lets us connect easily to all of you and have these user groups. On that toolbar, there should be an area where you can type in your questions if you have any questions. I see some people saying they have no sound. Hopefully my question answerer will help with that. The number for Citrix, let me go ahead and give that to her in case she needs it. But Marla will be helping me today answer questions as I'm going along and showing you the donation statement and showing you all the special things about it. It's hard for me to show and also pay attention to my second screen and answer questions. So she will be answering those questions. Again, today we're going to look at donation statements. So if you could keep your questions topical, just out of respect for everyone who's here for the 15 minutes or the full hour to learn about statements. Also on the GoToWebinar toolbar, if you want to move that around, you can click and drag it on your screen to where you'd like to place it. And to the side of that toolbar, there's a little arrow. If you click that arrow, it minimizes the toolbar down. Then it's not blocking as much of your screen. And to open it back up, you just click the little arrow again. That opens up the GoToWebinar toolbars. And there again, you can type in questions. I probably will not unmute people to ask questions because we do have that question panel. I want to point out a few things before we begin on our website that you may or may not be aware of. If you've never been to our website, I encourage you at least check it out. If not once a month, once a week. We do send emails to let you know about tech tips and new service releases and updates. If you're not receiving those, then you might want to give us a call and let us check whose email we have on file or check with the main administrator at your church. On our website, if you take a look along the left, all of these items along the left are available tabs across the top. I like the items along the left because I can just click specifically on the page I'd like to go to. If you look under training, we have a lot of options here. The user group webinar is the last option. If someone else signed you up for this, then you might want to take a look at the webinar page. We are doing a lot of what we call our coffee break or 15-20 minute classes just because we have an increased call volume with 17. So we're doing a lot of little quick classes. But today's class, if you notice, it's listed under the quick classes, where we'll just do a brief demonstration on a basic statement. And it's also listed under the hour-long user group webinars, because after that brief statement, anyone who needs to leave, feel free at any time to exit the room. But after that, we will continue on and go into a little more details in how you can customize the statement. Also along the left side, under training, there's some different options for training. Some pre-recorded webinars that one of our former technicians, Mary Lou, who started her own accounting firm now, she recorded most of those. Some of them are older videos, but the information that Mary Lou conveyed in those videos is still relevant. And accounting has not changed a lot since those were recorded. The workbooks, customized training, online video subscription, and live web, those do cost. However, if you look down under support, we do have a lot of resources on our website to help you beyond purchasing workbooks or videos. If you look under support, download current updates. If we go to that page, that will always show you the most current version of Church Windows and then the separate payroll module. So if you're not sure if you're on the current version, you want to check there. You can always access our tech tips under support. We have all the prior versions as well. I think the newest tech tips, I think, just came out last week. Also, we're coming up on the end of the year, so there's a New Year Prep and Help page that has documents, movies, all kinds of things to help you with end of year. Now, they are specific to donations and contributions or accounting or financial, so you definitely need to know which of those you're on. Hopefully the most current, donations and accounting. Another important page is the conversion transition. If you have not converted to the newer modules, this has a lot of information to help you with that conversion. Support docs and links is a lot smaller than what it used to be. Most of those items have been moved over to our support blog. If you have not checked out the support blog, I highly encourage you to take a look here. You can access all of the different modules across the top and see the items specific to those modules, or you can type in a keyword and that will bring up documents that have that keyword in it. But there are documents and videos both on the blog. We also have a Facebook presence. If maybe it's the weekend and you don't know the answer, you could always ask on the Church Windows Facebook page and see if another user knows the answer. And then last but not least, we have the Church Windows version 17 resource page. If you are current and on version 17.14.1, this applies. There's the What's New, few movies and recorded user group webinars, and we're going to keep adding to those. We're recording all of the user groups, and as they get cleaned up and some of the dead air taken out from the beginning and end, and we customize them, those will be added here as well. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead. I'm going to close this. I want to make sure you knew that was there. And I'm going to go ahead and open Church Windows. I went ahead and opened it ahead of time so it would load faster, but when we want to go print statements, we would go ahead and click on donations, which I already had opened, so it would load fast. And then if we need to print a donation statement, we can access the statement screen two different ways. We can go to Reports Export up at the top, and just under that, click on Donation Statement. Or we can click on Donation Statement lower right in the shortcut picture map, and that takes us to statement as well. One more thing let me point out before we dive into statement. On the opening screen of Church Windows, if you are not sure of your version, whoops, come back here. I just did something on my end here. I'm trying to find my pen. I'm missing something on my GoToWebinar. I'll just point it out here. If we look in the upper right, just above where it says Church Windows, we can see the version, and we're on the most current 17.14.1. So what you're seeing today applies to version 17. If you're in donations on version 16, things are a little different. In 16, I believe it was all on one screen when you went to statement. You didn't have the next button in the lower right. They've changed it a little bit in 17. In 17, Us techs are calling this the people picker. The first screen here where we have tabs across the top for giving and pledging, givers, accounts, sort, and options. All these items help us decide what people we want on the statement. So this is our people picker. You'll notice the first tab it pops up to is the giving and pledging, and it defaults to put the dot for giving into only those who gave. Most churches want to print statements for people who give and not a statement for people who do not give anything. If you want statements for everyone, regardless of their type of giving, you can do giving include all. Then you have only those who gave, giving from, and you can put in a certain dollar amount, or people who did not give. And then in between the giving and pledging section, you have an and or an or. So when you say and, you're narrowing down the criteria, saying they have to meet both of these. If you connect these with an or, then you would be saying the giving can be whatever I select here, or the pledging is what I select here. I'm going to change it back to and. Under pledging, we can include all, only those who pledged. And once we choose that, it opens up all the little check boxes that were grayed out before. People have met pledges, have not met pledges, flat, annual, semi-annual, all the different frequencies. We could also ask for people with pledging within a certain range we indicate, or people who did not pledge. So I'm going to do the most common thing here, only those who gave and pledging all. Upper right, we can change our date range if we'd like to, look at a different time period. Under givers, we can add membership criteria if we'd like. Maybe we only want a status of active or people with emails. We can combine our donation statements with criteria from membership or the member records to narrow down to certain groups of people as well. I'll see in the upper right different check boxes for members or visitors. Printing a statement for someone who's terminated or inactive means they're marked inactive in donations. That does not refer to a status code. You don't have to unterminate somebody to print a statement now. You can just check this box, and then if you look for them on the next screen, you should be able to pull up a statement even if they're marked terminated. Then also some selections based on numbers or no numbers. And then lower right, I was going to say left, we can choose to include our membership groups. That would mean a statement to the first grade, the stewardship committee, the adult choir. You probably, unless they frequently give and they need a statement, you probably do not need that checked. Now, if you have people you've added just to donations as individuals or groups, you might want these two checked. We can also narrow down to specific accounts or a campaign. If we don't select anything here, it will look at all of your accounts. Then we can choose how our statements are sorted, either by giver number, name, or zip code. And we can sort by up to 3 fields if we'd like. And then under options here, you can choose to have it warn you if something is more than one page. If you're doing a trifold mailer, you only want one page per person. And you can relabel some of the fields that are on the statement. Here is the default label, and if I want to change the name of that, I can click under Custom Label and type in the name change I'd like. Now once I've gone through all of these tabs, I can go back and forth on these. I don't have to do them in order. If I've chosen what I need and I'm going to run this frequently, I might want to go down to the bottom. And here we're doing just our pledgers. We've got only those who gave and only those who pledged. So maybe I want to call this my pledger statements. Say OK. And now I have that saved criteria. So if I went through there putting a lot of criteria in, I can easily pull that criteria up again by just going down and choosing the name pledgers. After I've made my selections on my tabs, I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And now we're at the statement screen or a report screen where I'm going to tell it the specifics about the report. I picked the people, and look, I have nobody. So let's hit back. We'll go to, instead of pledging, I must not have pledgers in here. We'll just do only those who gave, and under pledging all. And we won't save that because we don't want to uncheck pledgers and then call that search criteria pledgers. Notice now I have people, so I obviously don't have any pledges in the data I have right now. Let's look in the upper right. We can choose statement layouts. When you originally receive the program, you'll have 4 layouts in there, and these cannot be overwritten. You can use those to have somewhere to start designing your own statement or changing around what's already here, but then when you go to save that, you will have to rename it. That way you always have these 4 basic skeletons in there for you to fall back on. Now, even if you're not from Canada, the Canada trifold and windowed envelopes are in there as well. And if you're from Canada, you also have the trifold and windowed that are appropriate for the U.S. But those 4 should be in when you open the program. We can put a statement memo on our donation statement if we like. And here we can see the different statements that have already been created. We can create new ones by clicking the little box at the end of the line. And then here we'd put in a title for it. That's what we saw in the drop down, because you can use these more over and over once you create them. Put in our message, and then we click add and OK. Same thing for the global email message. If you're emailing, we can go ahead and set up email messages with subject and message as well. Your church information, because you're mailing this, and if you're doing the windowed envelope, it might you might have the ones where the return address shows. That will show on your statement as well, and here you can set up the organization info. If you have different organizations within the church, you can click the plus sign to set up more than one piece of info, organization info. And if you need to edit that, you can click the little pencil at the end of the line to edit. Now, if you just want to find one person, notice along the bottom I can click back, check print for all, uncheck, which we're going to click. If we were emailing, we could check email for all or uncheck email. I'm just going to look for one person, so maybe I want Ms. Bertha Allen. I see her there, but I want to go ahead and find her here. Click on her name, and notice when I select her with the select box, I unchecked everyone and selected her, and now it brings up Ms. Bertha Allen. Let's go ahead and we'll just print email Bertha's statement. And here is a nice sample statement for Ms. Bertha Allen. Now let's take a look at the actual design of that statement. If we click on Statement Designer at the top, we're looking at the windowed envelope. It looks a little overwhelming at first. This is the Statement Report Designer. If you just want to take off the summary or the detail or edit the quarterly section, notice across the top we can include the account summary, or we can uncheck to not include that. The summary is the section that just gives you basics about the pledging or giving. It doesn't give you each specific gift. We could also click on edit here, and we can edit the appearance or columns. We also can choose to show or not show the details section, and then the same for the quarterly section. Now let's look at that statement again. I thought I hit the X in the upper right. Must not have. There we go. I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to click no because I don't want to save any of those changes. If I click print right now, let me get my spotlight. The detail section, and we don't have a lot of giving entered, it appears, but if we had more giving, we'd see, I might go ahead and expand the date range just so you can see a more full detail section. But here we see the detail section where we would see every single gift that was entered during the date range we put on the statement. Below that, we see the account summary section, which per each account they gave to is just giving us a summary based on the columns we chose to show. And then below that, we see the new quarterly section, which is added back in 17. If you're on a version which does not show a quarterly section, then you're not on the most current version, version 17. So that is, again, the detail section. Actually, let me get my pen, although it's not very easy to write with. This is our detail section. I wish you could just type what you wanted here as text, like you can do little text boxes in forms. So that's our detail. Oh, and I think I need something besides gray over there. Let me get a different color, purple. This is our summary by account. And we are at about the 15-minute or coffee break class time. So really the basics of a statement I have shown you. So if you do need to go, again, you won't offend me, but we are going to stick around for the hour and look a little more in depth at the rest of the statement and the design. So hopefully you can stick around. So that's the summary section, and this is the quarterly. I hope Citrix finds a better way to write on things because the pen is not very easy. There we go. So we have detail, summary, and quarterly. All right, let's look a little bit more though at the actual design. All right, so if we go to Statement Designer, and actually, let me close this. I want to mention two things real quick that I was thinking of before class. If you try to print a statement for someone and it tells you that they're not there, or you can't get a statement, or it says to check the filters, first thing I would check, might save you a phone call, is go to Manage Givers and make sure Receive Statement is checked for that giver. If Receive Statement is checked, then even if they gave, you will not get a statement. Now, if they're a family giver, you might click on someone. Notice here I click on Bill Albrecht, and Bill and Susan give together. I can tell because it's grayed out here and they have the same number. Notice Receive Statement is grayed out in the upper right as well. If I click on giver number, click Go to Family, takes me to the families and groups and shows me their family name. And because they give as a family, I need to check Receive Statement on that Families and Groups tab. And we see it is checked, so they should receive a statement. So one, if a statement does not print out when you go to create them, but you know that person fits your criteria and you know they have giving, check in Manage Givers and make sure Receive Statement is checked. Now, if you run a statement for all of your accounts, so you go over here and you're running all of these accounts, but still on everybody's statement, an account does not show up. Go into Manage Accounts, and that can be accessed right in the shortcuts here. And for the account in question, click on it and make sure in the upper right, Print on Statement is checked. Now, also on statements, it will divide giving up into tax deductible and non-tax deductible, and an account cannot be both. You can mark an account as tax deductible, or I could uncheck this box and then it would show in the non-deductible giving. So if an account is showing as tax deductible when it shouldn't be, or vice versa, then come into Manage Accounts and see if giving as tax deductible is checked. All right, let's go back to the statement. I don't think I was really digressing there because I think those things were kind of important for statements, and they're questions we get a lot. And when you have, a statement that isn't printing for somebody and you really need it out, and right now we have an increased call volume, knowing that little bit of just checking Receive Statement, that could save you some time. And usually those calls, we call and we check Receive Statement and the call's done, and you ended up having to wait, for all the people ahead of you before we could call you. So hopefully that will help out in the future if you're not getting a statement. All right, so going back to statements, let me get a sip of coffee and we'll go a little more in depth here. All right, so here again, back on our statements, we can choose the giving or pledging. Here we can narrow down to different givers or membership criteria or just people with numbers. Select different accounts, our sort, and our options. Let's go to next. Let's look a little more at designing the statement. If we go into Statement Designer, here is where you can make changes to your statement. Perhaps you want a statement that just shows the detail of every single gift they gave. And let me I'm going to go back here and let's change our date range. I'm going to go 2 years back just so we can see something with a lot more giving on it. Let's see if 12 gives us more. We might just have to do a range of more than 1 year. A little more giving, not too much. So I'm going to go back. And let's just, typically you wouldn't look at a 2-year span, but just I want you to see more in the detail section so you can see how full that can get. Wait for it to come. Here we go. Quite a bit more donations. Notice up at the top, we see all the details of every single gift with the date, account number, amount, and check number. Notice in the upper right, we have a total given tax deductible and total non-tax deductible. I want to see. I'm going to go ahead and change one of these so you can see how it will divide up tax deductible versus non. So we'll take, just for the fun of it, the building fund donations. And I'm just going to mark that as non-tax deductible. So I'm going to highlight that and uncheck giving is tax deductible. Now let's go back. All right, so now if I click print, oops, I didn't change my date range. Let me change that again, go back, and we'll do 2 years. Now if I look at these statements, here we see all the detail, and it's divided our non-tax deductible, and then it shows us our tax deductible. Below that we see the summary section, and then below that the quarterly section. Now perhaps I noticed somebody, I'm going to answer Tara's question right now. I noticed Tara said the members find statements confusing and would really like to have one simple line that shows pledge, amount paid, and amount remaining separate from the rest. And a lot of churches like that, especially if you're just letting people know that they're pledging. End of year, you probably need to show all those details. But if all you want to do is show them a summary of their pledging information, up at the top here I can uncheck show detail. I can uncheck show quarterly. And now I can click save as. And I'm going to need to rename this. Notice if I say OK, I get a little exclamation mark. If you get an exclamation mark or an X, a red X, if you hover on that, it will tell you what's wrong. Cannot overwrite this file. Remember I told you you'll always have the 4 formats in there. You can't overwrite those, so you will always have those formats to fall back on. If you've changed and customized and renamed and it's just a mess, delete that format, come back and start over again. We'll just call this summary, window envelope summary, say OK. And now I see the name of what I just created, window envelope summary. If I click print email statement, notice it's quite simple. It's just showing me the different accounts, whether it's a pledge account or not. If it is a pledge account, it will show the pledge dates just after the account. Here we see there was some actual giving to the building fund that maybe was mistakenly put just towards that account rather than the actual pledge account. We'd have to go investigate that. But this is a little simpler. Now Tara said she wanted it to just have the pledge, amount paid, and amount remaining. Let me show you how you can do that. If we go back to Statement Designer, up at the top, we've got Show Account Summary checked. We can click on Edit Account Summary. Here we can change the appearance of our heading, data, the total headings, the total data. We want to click on columns though. And we are going to leave, I'm going to leave account so they know what they gave to. But we'll take away frequency. Amount frequency we'll leave pledged. I'm going to leave these 4 columns. You might want something different, Tara, or anyone else, but just show you how you can simplify it. Now, for each of these columns, if any of them are too long or you need to shorten them up, notice I can click on a column and click Adjust Column Width. And this is not affecting every column. I am adjusting the column width for a count. So I can click on each of these. Here it says Adjust Column Width for Pledged. The misconception originally as a tech, when I first went into this in accounting, because it has the same feel, I mistakenly thought it adjusted all the columns. But no, you can adjust every single column by clicking on it. So I'm going to say OK. Save my changes if I want to overwrite that original. And now if I click Print Email Statements, notice it's only showing the columns I selected: pledged, amount given, and over under. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Statement Designer again. Now I want to work with the original statement. I pulled up the summary that I just saved, so I'm going to close this. And if I click the arrow under Statement Layout, we see the 4 that I showed you originally came with the program and my new window envelope summary. I go back up and choose my window envelope. Forgot to mention upper right, notice here, if you're showing the quarterly section, then you can choose the date range you'd like it to show. Maybe you only want it to show 1 quarter. I could let's do June. Do the last quarter. So if we want to do June through end of September, we can select that for our quarter. Now if I click Print Email Statements, I know what's going on. I did that big long date range. Let me change my date range back. That might make more sense. There we go. I think we'll stick with the year now. I really wanted to see the detail, how big and how long the detail section could get if you are including detail on the statement. So now if we just look up, let me try that again because I didn't realize it when I went back. It doesn't hold my quarterly date range change. So if we say 6/1 through September 30th, 14. Oops, did I choose the wrong one? Let me look. Could be I have no giving for my quarterly section, so that's what's going on. Let me change it. Let's go back to 12 because I know I had more giving there. Whoops. There we go. Next. And then we'll change our quarter to look at just the 3rd quarter. Oh, here we go. I was going to say, here we see June, July, and August broken down, and it just showing that quarter. All right, let's look more though. I want to show you more about the designer. So if we go back into designer, showed you the edit account summary. Make sure we looked at that. If you look at, we can include or exclude the detail. I showed you the checkbox, but if we click on edit, here for the detail section, you can just determine if it's going to go down the first column with all the gifts, and it does it in order of date, and then move over to the second column, or you can have it go across, back and forth the columns. Also, it tells you here comments are going to print on a second line if you want it to print as 2 columns. Now we can click on columns and choose the columns we'd like to show. I'm pretty sure it defaults to show all of these columns, but we could move some out if we don't need to see those. Put those back, and then we can change our fonts as well. All right, and then we have the quarterly section that we can show. And we can not show that by just unchecking the box. Notice all of these. I don't know if I'm going too fast. There's so much here, and I know I tend to talk fast. Let me get my highlighter. Here's where we can check or uncheck to show the summary section, which that is the section where it just shows the accounts, and then whichever columns you choose, and it shows the pledge amounts as well, and what they owe if you choose to show that. The detail we looked at, and that's the specific gift and the date and the amount. Quarterly section, let's click on edit, get my clicking tool back. We click on edit. Here we can opt to show quarterly totals, monthly totals, a grand total, indicate if we'd like it printed as 2 columns or not. And then we can choose which columns we'd like to show and not show, pledged, non-pledged, or total, and adjust our fonts as well. Now, working with the fields within the design, if your eyes, my eyes are getting worse at my age, notice if I want to make what I see on the screen bigger or smaller, lower right, there's a little view where I can increase the size or decrease the size. Whoa. Or you can use the minus or the plus if that's going too fast. Or up at the top, we have the zoom in and zoom out. Let's just look at the top. Across the top, if I want to change the appearance of one of my fields here, I can click on that field. Maybe you want to change the appearance of the giver name and address. And at the top, notice I can change the font, font type, font size. You might want to be careful with the size if it pertains to the address. It might get too big to fit in the actual window spot if you're using windowed envelopes. Whether it's bolded, whether it's left or right justified or centered, the foreground color, the background color. Then across here, I don't usually use many of these tools. The tools that I find we use more often are along the right. We have standard controls and data controls. The pointer, just if you've chosen one of the other tools, the pointer gets your pointer back for pointing. Notice right now I clicked on horizontal line. If I did that by accident and I want my pointer back, I can click on pointer. If I want to create a label, which is specific words, I can click and drag label over into the layout. And then if I click the arrow in the upper right here, I can type in the text box whatever I'd like that to say. And now that would print on my statement. This is the label field. I'm going to delete that. Well, I'll leave it so you can see it on the statement. You can now also add a logo or an image if you like. You can click and drag that over to where you'd like it in your layout. And then you'd click the little arrow in the upper right, which brings up our picture box tasks. Here we can choose where we're getting that from. I can click on the image URL, or I can click on the little box with 3 dots at the end of image. And that brings up open, where I can look on my computer for pictures. And we'll just add the lovely chrysanthemum there. So you'd find the picture on your computer by clicking the box with 3 dots and bring that into your layout. Now if I need, I can click and drag and make it bigger or smaller, move it to wherever I want it on the layout. I want it right here. But you could put your church logo right on your statements if you like. We can add horizontal lines, shapes, page information if I add that. Any of these fields, when you add them, I think most of them, you can click a little box and that lets you choose the specifics for that field. Here we can choose none, number, number of, and then the total. So there's a variety of page information. You can do the date and time, the username. start page number, some different things for your page info. Don't know if you'd need that as much for statements. We can add vertical line or a border. If you look under data controls, here we have some different things you can add. The tax agency statement, the print date, date range, quarterly date range, organization information fields, the statement memo, which we see at the bottom of the layout. It's already there, but if you wanted to move it or somebody removed it, you need to add it back. A lot of these items are already on the statement, but if somebody's edited your statement and designed a new one, you might need to add these things back to your new design. You'll notice there's also total given, the giver or envelope number, the mailing label name, the giver name, giver address only, tax deductible and non-tax deductible total, and the giver name and address. So all of these things can be moved around in your layout. Anything you don't want in your layout, you can click on and then just do a right click and delete. If something isn't in the right spot, maybe I need to move this name and address over a little, I can just click and drag and move it to where I need it. Lower left, I can click on the word preview, and momentarily that brings up a sample or fake. Notice it says sample organization name. It doesn't have specific people here. This is just a fake sample layout of your design, and that allows you to stay in the design area and go back and forth in the lower left between the designer and then the preview, the fake preview. Let's see if this closes me out. Oh, it didn't. Got an error, but it didn't close me out of the program. This will allow you, though, to go back and forth, take a look at this, see if it's what you want. You can even in the upper left click print and print this sample fake statement. And if you're using maybe the windowed envelope, fold it up and make sure it fits correctly. But here you can see my label field where I added, this is the label field, and my logo. I created a logo out of that chrysanthemum. Not going to save that. We'll just go ahead and close here. Now I see some questions coming in. Let me take a look. Let's go back to designer. I think we've covered in depth all the areas of the designer. Let me show you real quick the trifold. We didn't look at that. That also comes for just regular trifold or Canada trifold. If we select that and click print, notice it's formatted a little differently, so you can fold it into threes. The address or addresses are in the bottom half, and it's pretty much a summary of what they've given, because these usually you want to be one page, so it will fit in that trifold mailer. It can be printed on the trifold mailer that you then fold up and seal. All right. Now I saw some questions come in about email. We're just looking mostly at the design of the statement. But if you're working with emailing your statements, you do need to go to the email settings. And here you'll see, if you haven't set this up yet, or if you use the newer membership version 17 email and you've set that up, then it will pull over. Or once you set this up in donations, that also pulls over into the donation email area. But to email your statements, you need to click the plus at the end of the line, and there's some information here you need to get from your email provider. This is the SMTP email settings, and this is what allows Church Windows to connect to your email provider. Where it says outgoing mail server, if you click the plus at the end of the line, this is the information you need to get from your email provider. Once you have that information in, and there's little question marks that can give you more information about those fields. But once that information is in, you can do a connection test, and if that's successful, then here you can you can set up different emails. If there's different emails people use at the church, and those would show in this drop-down list. But The from email, username and password, and reply to are all your information. And once that's filled in, you can send the test email. Once you have the email all set up, now I don't see it here because we don't have email set up. There will be another box here that I can click on, and it opens up an email where I can put in my message and my subject and add attachments as well. So somebody had asked, can I attach things? Yes, you can. But I'm not seeing all that here because I don't have an actual email set up yet. All right, and bringing emails into church windows, right now we see this email column has a little checkbox for some people, and others it says none if they don't have one. Here we see an invalid, meaning there's something wrong with this individual's email. We'd want to go check their email on their record and see what's wrong. But if all you see here is, does it say none or it's just empty? I can't remember what it says before you set it. But if you don't have the check boxes, then you want to click here on Set Default Email for Givers. That brings up settings where at Mass Assign Email field, you can click Update Reassign and choose either all givers to pull in. We would want to do just givers with no email selected because they don't have one yet. And that will pull in emails for anyone new. Let's see. Go back to options here. I'm going to take a look. Someone just asked, is there a sent message box for the included email client that shows all messages sent out of church windows? I don't believe your email will show as being sent, but if you've sent an email, you can right-click on your church windows and go to Properties, and then go to Open File Location. And I'll have to double check on this if I'm not correct here, but I'm pretty sure within data, or it could be, correct me if I'm wrong, Marla. She may, oh, here we go. I was wrong. It's right here in front of me. Ignore that. Right in my church windows folder, we have email logs. If I go into email logs, we see a log for each time we've sent email. And it tells me what emails were sent. Well, here nothing sent because we don't have email set up on this computer. But you will have an email log within your church windows folder that details more about the different emails and what was sent. All right. I'm going to, if there's questions, now is the time to go ahead and type those in. I think I've covered pretty much everything we have time to cover. We got a little less than 15 more minutes, so I'd like to have some time for your questions. Okay, somebody asked about using a MacBook Pro, and it said it doesn't appear to support some of the functions you've described. Church Windows is for Windows operating systems. I know people do have them on Macs, and they will, from what I understand, you can set up parallels to have them work. If there are specific things not working, then you might want to call in. We do not have Macs here, but we could talk about it and see what's going on there. But it is Church Windows, so Marla, do you know anything about items not appearing or working if they're on a Mac? I'm not sure about that, so it might be something you need to call and ask. All right, let's see. Somebody asked, how many different donation reports can you save? I am not aware of a limit. Down under Save Selections, here we can save our different criteria I mentioned. I'm not aware of there being any limitation on how many reports you can save. So I do not know. I have not heard of there being a maximum amount of reports you could save. Somebody asked, how do you print a single statement and send it to the printer? Well, you'd enter your criteria here that you need, or you can just click Next. And here at the bottom, I can click Uncheck Print for All. I can use the select to find the person, or I can scroll and find the person I need, check their name off, and click Print Email Statements. This just brings up that one person statement, and then upper left, I can click Print to send that to the printer. So again, I uncheck Print for All, find the person, and check Print, and then go ahead and print an email and click Print. Someone asked, I came in a little late. Did you go over pledge acknowledgments? Would you use the same report designer as for the donation statement and just modify the fields? If you mean sending something similar to a donation statement for pledgers, then yes, you can come into statement and here choose forgiving all or only those who gave if you only want pledgers who give. And under pledging, you would ask for only those who pledged. All right, and Marla wanted me to make sure you understand, everybody understands, if one of these preset statement designs does not work for you, you only have to come in here once. Remember, I took this windowed envelope, clicked on Statement Designer, maybe I just want it quarterly, and I made my changes, edited what I need, I clicked Save As. I'm going to call that windowed envelope quarterly, since that's what it, oops, we'll just call it WE quarterly. And now if I close out, I have a new layout. So I don't have to go in every time I want a different design. I don't have to go use that windowed envelope and make changes to it. Once I make the changes and save it, that new statement that I just saved is available. Oops, and I don't have anybody who meets the criteria. I don't have any pledgers, so let's see. So now that statement I just made is available for me to use over and over again, and it's just showing the quarterly information. So you only need to use the designer once to set it up, and then you just, from your list where it says statement layout, choose the design you want. Now I would name your statement design what it's giving you. Don't name it after the people you picked at the beginning, because the statement design does not save search criteria or the people. It's saving the design and what you're telling it to put on that piece of paper or that attached email for the people you chose back on the other tabs. All right. So pledging would be done the same way. You can create a statement for just pledgers. Somebody asked, how does the toolbox with all the options for designer statements? That wasn't a complete sentence, so I'm guessing you meant how does that toolbox work? That's what I was just showing just a minute ago. The toolbox to the right. Any of this information, if maybe somebody came in and just took a whole bunch of things off your statement. You come in, somebody was playing around over the weekend, they messed up your statement, you need to add that stuff back. All of these different controls on the right are what makes up the statement you originally see when you open the program. And you can use these tools to really customize and create your own statement. So here I can add giver number, I can add back the organization info. Where was organization name? And notice when I choose the organization field, it opens up from, sorry, I forgot to show you this, where I can pick what field I want it to add. So I want it to put the name, but if we notice here, we have all different organization information here. So I can ask for name and say OK. I can go ahead and put the mailing label and address back. There we give her name and address. So all of the things over in the toolbox are what make up a statement, and those items enable you to design your own statement if the formats that the program comes with don't suit your needs. How do you open the toolbox? If you're not seeing the toolbox, you might need to click, notice this little arrow to the right of standard controls and a little arrow to the right of data controls. If your church windows designer looks like what we see in the upper left, upper right, your other left, just click the little arrow. You just need to click the arrow by standard controls or data controls for it to open up and show you that information. And at the very bottom, notice there's a little arrow we can use to scroll to the bottom of the list. All right. Let's see. Somebody asked the tax deductible. Oh, Marla got that one. Okay. Somebody asked what's the difference between standard controls and data controls. I'm not a programmer, so I would assume if you look, these are controls for just standard things on the page, not really information. It's all appearance of the page, whereas data controls, that's actual fields or things that are pulled from the data that you have entered in the program. So, I mean, to me, that's the difference, but I've never been asked that before. So, if Marla wants to add anything to that, I'll let her type that. But standard really, to me, have to do with the page where data is pulling information for the person. Somebody asked, can a postal indicia? I don't know what a postal indicia is. I'm wondering if you meant a postal barcode be added to the trifold statement in the address field. Any of the items you see along the right can be added on the statement, so I'm not sure about that question. Somebody said, so we don't do anything with data control buttons. Oh, well, certainly. You can, if you're creating your own layout and you've deleted some things, yeah, you can go over and maybe, I mean, I've removed a lot of things here, but all of these different pieces of data control, I can add those wherever I like. Like I said, if somebody deleted giver name and address and I save that, let me take a look at that. There's no address or giver information here. So those data controls are there for you to create your own layout if you need to. If you're happy with the windowed envelope or the trifold and everything works great, then you don't need to come into Designer. But if you come into Designer or if somebody else has come in and really changed things around, these controls are here for you to create your own statement, or if somebody's messed up the statement, add things back to the statement so you can get it back to the format you need. All right, and we are nearing 2 o'clock, so might have to wrap it up here soon. Let's see. Trying to get through here. What are the little yellow boxes in the fields representing? Honestly, I do not know. I don't do anything with those little yellow boxes. I know if I click on a field, I can click the little arrow in the upper right and see the different tasks I can do. I do not know what the little yellow things are. So I'll let, if Marla knows that, she can answer that. Oh, she said it gives you more control over what appears in the field. See, I always thought when I was clicking the little arrow rather than the barrel. So someone asked, can we take away the pledge column? Certainly. If you go into Edit Account Summary, we can remove the pledge column if we like. You can go into any of the sections, Edit Account Summary, Edit Detail, or Edit Quarterly, and choose the columns you'd like. Can I put more than one memo on the statement? Now that I do not believe you can. Let's say no here. Because there is, well, you can put a global statement memo. I just mentioned something that I noticed I forgot to show here. Here we can do a global statement memo, and that would appear on every single statement. Versus I could do a personalized memo right along the line, or a personalized email message right along the line for a particular giver. And then let me see, I don't know if we're showing the personalized. Let me go into design. I'm just going to click over here on personalized memo. Wait a minute, where is it? me double check. Let's just do our normal window envelope. That was Ann Ramirez. Oh, what order am I doing these? Let me try them. We'll uncheck and we'll just check Ann. I'm wondering, I miss a statement memo. Let's just add this here. I was looking for personalized, and it's actually just statement memo. So we'll add that. Oh, you know what? I think I wasn't looking far enough down on hers is the problem. We have just check Carol. Say thank you. Oh, here we go. And here is our thank you. There is our personalized memo. So if you'd like to add a memo for just a person, you can use that personalized memo right along the line where you can check that giver, select that giver. All right. Let's see. Oh, somebody told me they saw at the bottom. Good. All right. Yes, and somebody else said the personalized memo shows below the regular memo. My brain is getting too full, and I didn't notice that down along the bottom it shows as well. So the statement memo, that's our actual personalized memo. All right. We are getting over our hour. Are there more questions? Can stick around a little, or if you have questions specific to your data, those usually are best answered on a support call. Oh, and it's Cynthia, I think I somewhat answered. I didn't finish answering your question there. So you cannot put more than one global statement memo, while you can create different ones for different times of the year. If you wanted to say more than what one of those said, you would want to just go in and create a new one with everything you needed. And again, those show on all the statements, versus you can put a special personalized message to individuals by typing those on the line in that personalized statement memo column. All right. Someone would like to see, okay, a whole year statement. Well, I can show that. We don't have, we're not a church, so I don't think we have a whole year's worth of entries here. But sure, let me go back, make sure I'm looking at a whole year. Only those who gave all. And let me just do the basic window envelope instead of the ones we've changed. So this is the standard window envelope showing a whole year, but again, we have fake data in here, so we don't have a whole year's worth of data. If you're getting donations every week from someone, then this detail section might take up a whole page. So there, Verletta, is what a statement would look like for a whole year, although yours probably will be longer if you show the detail section. Someone asked, if a person doesn't have an email, will a list be given for those who need to have one mailed? I do not believe it does that, but here you can check email for all. Let me uncheck, and if I check unselected, I always confuse myself here. Check print, if I check here, check print if no email address. Now if I check email for all, then for anyone who does not have an email address, it's going over and checking print for them. Now we could, in membership, you could do a report, email is equal to blank, and then you could create a report of people who do not have emails. We also can click on any of these column headers. Notice I clicked on the email column header, and that popped everybody up at the top with invalid or none, and all my email checkboxes are at the bottom. Now I could, back here on givers, could say email address is blank, and next. Oops, didn't add that criteria. Now here it's probably looking at the primary person because I see somewhere we are showing emails. And if a person, if they give as a family, the statement will be sent to the person who has the primary email address. So I'm thinking some of these we're seeing because of how they give and how they're marked for the directory. I'd have to investigate those, but notice most of these here we have are none or invalid emails. All right, well, it is past time. If there are no more questions, then we're going to go ahead and end our coffee break turned into a full user group over donation statements. And I'm going to go grab a late lunch. If you have a question, then go ahead and you might want to hit enter so I don't close the room before your question is seen, or type a few question marks and hit enter so we know you have a question. Thank you, Nancy. I will enjoy my lunch. You'll fill my car up with gas because it's getting low and it's very cold here. Hope it's warmer where everyone else is. All right, well, I'm not seeing any question marks and nobody's hit enter to send the part of the question they may have been typing. So I'm going to go ahead and end today's user group. Thank you so much for attending. If you have questions that I didn't answer, definitely give us a call or email support@churchwindows.com. And everybody have a great day. Have a great Thanksgiving next week and stay warm. Bye.